evening. This is the Goffstown Conservation Commission meeting for July 22nd. And I have a statement to read. Let's see, should we say roll call first? Or, no, you know what, I'm
You gotta
making a
read that
the
first.
right to know law meeting. I'm reading you a statement about the right to know. As the acting chair of the Goffstown Conservation Commission, due to the COVID-19 outbreak and in accordance with Governor Sununu's emergency order number 12 pursuant to Executive Order 2020 through 2024, this commission is authorized to meet electronically. Please note that there is no physical location to observe and listen contemporaneously to the meeting, which was authorized pursuant to the governor's emergency order. However, in accordance with the emergency order, this is to confirm that we are, one, providing public access to the meeting by telephone with additional access possibilities by video or other electronic means. The Conservation Commission is utilizing a telephone conference line for this electronic meeting. The public has access to contemporaneously listen and, if necessary, participate in this meeting through dialing the following telephone numbers. The first number is 603-766-5646, and using the participant code. The code number is 785645. Followed by the number sign. And then B, providing public notice of necessary information for accessing the meeting. The town previously gave notice to the public of how to access the meeting using the available telephone number with the posted agenda. Third part, providing a mechanism. Could you have somebody mute their phone?
I could turn it down.
Okay.
It's, David's.
All right.
Let's make it
Providing a mechanism for the public to alert the public body during the meeting if there are problems with access. If anybody has a problem with the telephone access, please call 660-5000. Adjourning the meeting if the public is unable to access the meeting. In the event that the public is unable to access the meeting, we will adjourn the meeting and have it rescheduled some other time. I hope that doesn't happen tonight. Please note that all votes are taken by roll call coming from the phone. All right, and then anyone who, from the public wishing to speak, please press the number 9 and the operator will recognize you. Okay, we're going to start the meeting by roll call. Evelyn Miller, acting chair.
Hollis Adams, Select Board Representative.
Jean Walker, and I'm by myself.
All right.
Susan Tucker, I'm by myself.
All right.
Amy Polak, by myself.
All right.
David Neiman by myself.
Chuck Freiberger. I'm here with my dog, but she never listens to me anyhow, so it doesn't matter.
Okay. And I think that's all of our attendants. Anybody else? No. Do you recognize yourself, hon?
Oh, Patty L. staff.
Okay, great. Okay, on our agenda, for the first thing on our agenda is map 21, lot 65. This is the review of the expedited wetlands permit to install a natural stone retaining wall and granite steps along the collapsed shoreline area where old retaining wall fell. The owners are Sean Fournier, located at 35 Bay Street. It's zoned residential. The commission needs to vote on recommendation to the New Hampshire Department of Environmental Services. Would you like to do a presentation?
Well, he's got someone online.
Oh, someone online.
Yeah, two.
Okay.
Yeah, but you guys can come on up too if you want. So Eric, you're unmuted if you want to do your presentation to them.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yep, just state your full name for the record.
It's Eric Mueller, Northern Lights Landscape Contractor.
Okay. Eric, do you want to go ahead with the presentation?
Yes, we've been asked to repair and replace a collapsed retaining wall along this property. There was a cement wall there that collapsed, and we're proposing to put in a natural stone granite wall with some granite steps to replace the old wall and ensure that the property is in good, stable condition.
Okay. I'm looking at the wrong thing. Do you have any questions? Does anybody have any questions? How about any of our committee? Yeah, go on.
Eric, did you prepare the application on your own, or did you have some professional assistance preparing it?
We've worked with the DHES on everything with this. We've worked with them before, so it's been a collaboration of the work.
Did you say you worked with the DES?
Yes,
Okay.
yeah, we worked with them before. When I initially met with the client, we told them we would need a permit for this work, and we've gone through the proper steps to get this permit. We're trying to get the permit accordingly.
Well, I know these processes can be a bit complicated and complex to work through, and I know DES tries to do their best to assist applicants working their way through the process, but there's a number of issues, and I'm not trying to be critical here, I'm just citing or identifying issues on the application as I see them. So it says, does the property contain a priority resource area? It's checked yes. It says, if yes, provide the following information. Does it qualify for an impact classification adjustment or project type? And it says no. And it says protected species or habitat, it says yes. And it says if yes, species or habitat names, and then in response is rare wildlife, plant, or natural community. What it's really looking for, it does give an NHB project identification number, but I don't see the response from NHD, so it's identifying that there is some sort of special species or habitat, but it doesn't identify what it is and what NHB data check turned up as far as what is the species and what's recommended to help protect the species when the work is being done. Then it says it's designated.
I don't believe that there is. We've worked with the lady from the program there to ensure the application, and as far as we know, all the check boxes are in coordinates to what we need.
Okay. Then it says the designated prime wetland or duly established 100-foot buffer. It says, yes, you are working within the designated prime wetland. And I don't believe that if you're working within a designated prime wetland or its buffer, that it qualifies for a expedited minimum impact application and permit. And then it says, is the property within a designated river corridor? Yes. Please provide the following information. Name of the LAC, Squatiquag River, that's correct. A copy of the application was sent to the LSA on month is left blank, day is left blank, and only the year is filled in. The specific date is critical because the LAC has specific timelines within the statute as to when they can make comment on the application, so the actual date is kind of incomplete.
They actually do have a little pink spot there.
Yeah, somebody must
Yeah,
have.
I'm sorry, it's kind of difficult to hear
Oh,
you,
I'm
but
sorry. Do you want me to repeat that? It says a copy of the application was sent to the LAC on month is left blank, day is left blank, year is 2020. The date is fairly critical because the statute only affords the LAC a certain amount of time to comment on the application based upon the date that it was provided to the LAC. So that information is incomplete and kind of necessary for us to look at. If we go along further, it says under, and we go down, and I'll just not jump down to section 3, it's the information on the proposed project. Provide the following information, identify the applicable minimum impact provisions in ENBWT 500, ENBWT 600, ENBWT 900, and the project-specific information required by those provisions. And what's provided is just basically a description of the work being done. It doesn't address the specific provisions of each of those chapters, 500, 600, and 900. So it's not really what is being looked for in that section, what's being asked for. It's great that we have a description of the work to be done. And then a brief description of the project and the purpose of the project. And then again, just states install natural stone retaining wall and granite steps along collapsed shoreline area where old wall fell. There were some pictures submitted as part of this, as is required. And I can't tell, Eric, from the pictures, where an old wall would have been along that shoreline. It looks to me like the shoreline soil is merely sloughed off down into the water body. So do you have any evidence or documentation of an existing wall? Because these PBMs are supposed to be quick.
I'm Sean Fournier, the property owner.
Okay, good.
I can show you on my phone.
Okay.
I don't have copies for everybody, but this is what the existing right now. It was a concrete wall, and it was up to your, went down, and you can see how the wall went in the water, into the concrete.
Where's the wall?
It's gone, it fell in the water. Mother Nature took it. It wasn't, it was at your foot level, and it went down probably about 3-4 feet.
Yeah.
And this is what it looks like now, because the concrete,
Was it a concrete block?
yeah, it was a poured concrete wall.
Oh, it was.
And, and it was, half the wall is still on the other side where that fence is.
Mhm.
The fence and the wall, just collided.
So the wall was taken out of the water?
No, it's still in the water. It's still in the water. It's just you can't see, because probably just the way if I probably got on the other side in the water, you can see the wall.
Hmm.
It's just from the angle, because I didn't want to get in the water, but you can kind of see, so that's the concrete, where it broke and fell over.
Is it that kind of shiny white thing that's about, on this picture, that you have a float there, and then it looks like there might be, was that part of it? No.
No, that's, oh yeah, no, that's his property, the 37 Bay Street.
Okay.
Oh, here it is. You can see it's in the water. You can see the fence. You see that line? That's
Yeah.
the rail.
Yep.
And the concrete, as it fell, all the loam and everything else fell on top of it. I mean, it's visible.
Oh, so, Carlos, it looks like it did this.
Yeah, it just fell
It's-
down.
And it's, you can see it in this picture, right under the words dock is,
It's visible right now. If you went out on the property, you can
You'd
see
see it in the water.
concrete.
can you see that? I know, it looks like a reflection of ripples, but actually, you can actually see the line.
And all we're asking is, to replace, what damaged and, actually, put a nicer system in there.
The people that are, our committee that are at home, if you're looking
Is
on.
that wall going out into the water?
It looks like,
Is the old wall, the shadow you kind of see under the writing?
Yes.
yes.
With the wooden, the top of the wooden fence attached
Yeah.
to it.
Is the new wall going that far out?
No, the wall is gonna be actually closer inland on our property, so I'm actually gonna lose land. And if you speak to Eric, who was taking care of the project, he'll indicate that.
Okay. Eric,
So-
do you-
Yeah, the wall is going to be in place of the old wall. In fact, it'll be a couple of feet in from the old wall, so we'll be actually back from the water line as much as possible, enough to retain the wall that's the area that's falling in.
So the old wall is in the water now?
Yes, it's collapsed and gone, and now the land is sloping into the water and decaying, obviously, as you see in the picture. So we're proposing to come in, put in a new granite wall, which is an all-natural stone product, just big granite blocks with granite steps. So no no, produced products other than just stone.
The steps will go into
Are
the
you
water?
doing,
The steps will go into the water?
They will not. They will come to the edge of the wall, which will be, at the crest of the water, I would say, depending on the water height. Basically, just coming down the embankment so you can access the water.
In your packet, there's a picture of where the granite wall and then the steps are in the center of that, showing that it would, so that you'd have access to the water.
A drawing?
Correct.
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
wall's about 40 feet long, and the steps in the middle will be about 7 feet wide. That way, the client will have access to come down to the water as needed. Pretty much as it was before. The concrete wall was there before, but this way they'll have access to the water.
So in that picture, you've got a black arch that says silt dam. Is that what you're putting in the water while you're doing work on the, what is that?
Yes, there'll be a silt dam installed in the water to catch any sand or other debris that is generated from the work site.
was the wall that fell in 40 feet long?
Yes, it was approximately 40 feet, that whole section. And it was basically L-shaped, the way the property is laid out, the property line. So the front, where you see the picture where there's an existing, like a fence, that wall is part of the old wall. That's gonna stay as is, so, but the part that's being replaced is approximately 40 feet. And that's what was damaged.
So actually, there is a picture in the packet that, from above, that shows where the wall is, that L. So you're saying some of that is still standing and that's gonna stay there, and then you're going to repair,
What we lost.
Yeah.
What was collapsed.
So you're gonna build a 4-foot
Correct.
tall wall? How tall was the wall that collapsed?
It was about 4 feet. We're not going any higher. You can see the lot itself, the land is flat. And what we're trying to do is kind of replace the height and the length of what was existing. It was quite a drop off. That's why I put that, the wooden fence up years ago, back in the early 90s. I mean, I don't live there now, my mother does, but I own the property. And because, like I said, when I first bought it, that wall was there, had been there for many years. Like I said, it was just basically Mother Nature that eroded it.
Was this going to be a drywall construction with the granite?
Yes, it'll be a dry wall. It'll be backed with geogrid, a natural, fabric to retain the soil. Just washed stone, and pretty much the whole wall will be in like kind from the cement wall.
When did the wall collapse?
It was around March.
It is about probably the first part to the middle part of March of this year.
do we have any other comments on the application? So Collis,
Are you speaking to me?
no, go ahead, anybody out there wants to,
After observing the site myself as a contractor, I think this is the most suitable replacement. It's a natural product. It'll have the least amount of impact on the lake, and will be a system that will stand probably for hundreds of years and be the least impacting on any of the areas around it, including the water or the rest of the shoreline. Right now, all the sediment and the silt is just bleeding into the water.
So are you aware of the hierarchy for methodologies for stabilizing shoreline that starts with a vegetated slope and then goes to a riprap slope And the third and last alternative is a wall for shoreline stabilization. You know, there's the least impacting alternative analysis that you need to look at to make sure that the proposal is the least impacting.
Are you talking to Eric?
Yeah,
Eric,
Eric, could you hear him?
I'm sorry, can you hear me? It's tough with a
you
mask.
don't need
I,
to.
I heard part of that. Could you repeat that, please?
Yeah, so are you aware of the hierarchy for shoreline stabilization projects that starts with the least impacting alternative being vegetative, resloping and vegetating the slope? And then the next preferred alternative would be a riprap slope, and then the third, least preferable and most impacting alternative would be wall construction. Are you familiar with that?
I'm very familiar with it.
Okay,
Two major indications in this project here is that, one, that the area is too close to the water to do plantings. You don't have enough grade there to do that. And secondly, if you wanted to put a 3-to-1 slope in there with a riprap slope, the client would lose probably 4 or 5 more feet off their property, which I think greatly impacts the use of their land.
And I just like to say as the property owner that it's not a big lot to begin with. And, you know, that doesn't sound like much to some people, 4 or 5 feet, but, you know, it's kind of a postage stamp lot. And there was an existing concrete wall there before, and, you know, part of that, and I understand you've taken into all the other accounts, but aesthetics was one of ours.
Well,
The other reason I don't like the riprap in the situation is because also riprap can create vegetation and requires maintenance, which I think can be prohibitive to the long-term care of the property. Therefore, I think that the granite wall will stand up nice and straight. It'll be very structural, and I honestly foresee that in the future, nothing else will need to be done to this property to withhold the land.
yeah, wouldn't take issue with that statement, I agree
right.
with that. You know, our concern is the resource, which is the water. And are we looking at a plan that minimizes the impact to the water to the greatest extent possible? You know, when it comes to regrading, I mean, it's expected if you need to regrade, you regrade back into your property, not out towards the water. So, just some observations.
Do I have a comment from, from anybody on the Conservation Commission? Well, I guess my only thing is that this was a pre-existing wall that was there and then went down. Does that matter? I would seem to me that that would be okay to put it back. Now, I know you brought out some things that need to be corrected with the application,
Yeah.
but anyway, that was my comment. Does anybody have another, I'm talking to the speaker here.
This
and
is Susan Tucker.
Yeah.
I agree with Evelyn. It was a pre-existing wall. Maybe in today's day and age, it is not the best solution, but it's replacing a pre-existing wall, which will service this. And if no one else has a question, I would like to move this issue and take a vote on it.
Okay,
Just one other comment. So I hear the saying about the desirable alternatives, and I also hear the other side saying we're replacing something that was there before. So I guess, I'm a little ambivalent on that. But the other thing Collis pointed out were some of those questions, some of those answers on the form up front didn't seem to be quite correct. And I just, wonder if it would be in the applicant's interest to have those corrected, because it might slow down their application if otherwise.
Yes, David, I was just gonna say, if there's an issue with the application, the state will let them know that they need to add more.
oh, is that right?
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Right now, UB either voting to recommend, not recommend, and allow Evelyn to sign the application, and the town clerk would, and then it goes to the state, and anything additional they need, they're gonna notify the applicant.
Yep.
And the applicant will be if this can't go forward, if he needs to bring it to them, not the town clerk, he'll get the application back.
Yeah, so.
Right, well, on some of these, I'm not so much worried about the answer. I think we understand the situation. But, you know, for like the question, protected species or habitat, yes. If yes, name species or habitat, rare wildlife, plant, and or natural community. I don't understand the answer. I mean, are there any, is there anything there of special concern? I don't assume that there would be.
It
I'm not
doesn't,
aware of anything.
doesn't look like it with it just has a lawn going down there and, but again, that's something that the state,
Well, certainly, our job is to recommend
right,
or not recommend.
Right.
We can recommend it, the state's still gonna review it, say, well, that's nice, the Conservation Commission recommended it. However, as a state agency, we still have these concerns, and we don't agree.
right.
that-
So I think our
Divorce.
part, what Collis is pointing out, our part is to say, do we recommend allowing him to replace the wall as they had said with their granite blocks? Or are we saying that we don't agree? And I think we have a motion on the table right now that said that they,
Susan,
Susan, I think.
yeah.
she didn't, are you making a motion, Susan, to recommend?
Yes, I'll make a motion to recommend this.
Okay, do we have a second? Hello? We need a second from the
Second.
thank you.
Thanks.
Chuck Freiberger, seconds. Okay, so we are going to have a roll call vote.
Yes.
All right, to accept the,
Recommend to the state.
recommend that the Conservation Commission, approve,
Sign off on the PBN.
okay, on the expedited, permit to rebuild the wall. The roll call, Jean Walker,
Yes.
Amy Polak,
Yes.
Chuck Freiberger,
Yes.
David Neiman,
Yes.
Susan Tucker,
Yes.
And then yourself.
Evelyn Miller, yes. All right, so it looks like the motion has passed.
Yeah, and I'll have you sign at the end of the night.
Okay.
Since they're leaving it with me to have the town clerk sign. And then I'll give you guys a call tomorrow.
Thank you.
Good luck
Okay?
with your project.
Thank you very
If
much
any
for
problems,
coming.
Let us know, okay? We're happy to help.
Yeah,
Have a good night.
Thank you.
okay.
Thank you, Eric.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yes, this is really fun, I want you to know. You can't tell anything. Okay, next on our agenda is map 5, lot 41. No?
It's map 316.
I'm sorry. Map 3, lot 16, request for relief from the outer 50 feet of the 100-foot wetland surface water conservation district to build an above-ground pool with attached deck to the house that will be located approximately 50 feet from the brook. The owners are John, and I think he's here, DeCracy?
Desiree.
Oh, Desiree, oh, lovely, okay. Of 18 Winding Brook Road, and it's zoned agriculture. Would you like to come forward and present this?
And they all received a copy and.
So okay.
They've seen, yeah,
All right.
they have it.
So it's actually a 20-foot pool, not an 18. That's the only mistake that I know of. We wanted to put it in the backyard. That's kind of that's our backyard. That's where everything is. There's a little patio and the existing deck back there. And that's kind of the only place that gets full sun. Otherwise, we'd have to take out a bunch of trees, which we'd rather not do. And that's kind of where we have eyes on the pool. Like
Right.
if the gate were ever to be compromised, that's where we can see. Anywhere else, it's like a blind spot for the house, so it would almost be a little bit of a safety issue as well.
Okay. And it's an above-ground pool, and then a deck proposed at 14 feet by 20 feet, which is made out of wood?
Trex, yeah. The composite
Yeah,
to match the existing.
yeah. So, and do we have any questions? Yes?
This is Susan. I have a question about the proposed deck. Is that going to be above the ground to meet the top of the swimming pool, or is that
Yes.
on the ground? And is it constructed of wood, or is it a solid surface?
It would be the composite deck, which would match the top of the pool.
Okay, okay. So the water can run through it into the ground and dissipate before it heads toward the stream, yeah, okay.
Right.
Okay, I guess my other question is, my concern is with the end of the season, you're gonna chlorinate this pool, I assume, and my concern would be pumping down the water when you close up for the season, that you're not pumping that chlorinated water into the brook.
We were going with the, we're new to pools, you know, but we were going with the, like the canister filter, which I think just gets rinsed out and it's not like sand with the backwash. So I
Filter?
I have no idea.
I think you can just rinse the filter and you don't do like a traditional backwash like you would with sand.
Okay.
So it's
And
not,
at the end of the season, though, you leave water in the pool, but you lower your level. I guess that was my concern. You lower the level of the water, I do believe. Maybe you don't with that kind of pool anymore. But you throw window tubes in, but you lower the level. I'm
That-
just concerned about where that water is going to go if you are dispersing any water out of that pool, chlorinated water.
Yeah, that could be valid. Again, we're new to the pools. I don't know how much you have to take it down. You guys have all done this before probably, or listened, you know, heard these.
she
these
owns a
hearings.
pool. I don't own a pool, so
So
I
do you
don't
know
know.
like how many inches you would take the pool down? Is it significant?
I don't know about an above the ground pool, but I know you do leave water and you do take it down a little. But I'm assuming if the sun helps to dissipate the chlorine. So if you're going to do that, when you do that, if you cease to circulate your pool and cease to chlorinate your pool weeks before you close the pool, then probably the majority of that chlorine is dissipated through the sunlight and the air,
That
whatever.
sounds right. And I bet a lot of people
but,
wait between the
I
last
think
time
you
they
should be aware of that because you will probably need to lower the pool and you probably don't want to kill your grass by putting chlorinated water across your lawn.
Right.
But it should not go in the stream. That's the bottom line. That chlorinated water should not be put into that stream.
Typically, you draw them down to the intake, below the intake.
You draw down below the intake. Okay.
So can you explain the existing pea stone patio a little bit? Is there a picture of it? Is this the first photo 3? Is that the
Well,
pea stone patio in the distance?
I don't think I have the pictures.
no, because a piece, though, those are, it looks like an old stone wall where you have that it's the existing pea stone patio. That doesn't look like,
That photo 3 shows,
In the distance, that looks so.
house I can't even tell what I'm looking at. That's looking into my neighbor's backyard, yeah, to the north.
Are you taking down
That's the
trees
retaining wall.
also to,
Yeah, so that's just
Make
lawn
this-
there.
He's answering.
just a moment, Jean, we'll get to you in just a minute.
okay?
So, yeah, photo 3 is just the actual lawn, like he was standing, like the pool would be just to his right at that spot. I think he just was showing that that's all lawn through there.
So, not where the sunlight is, it's going to be to your right it says, or is it where the sunlight is that you want?
No,
to-
that's actually my neighbor's yard.
Oh, okay.
That's his backyard, because that's the retaining wall that we're looking at.
So actually, probably more towards where that sunlight is on your side. Over, you said it's on, so it's right,
You see
anyway.
no, that's just the stream.
Now,
Yeah, that's retaining
and I
wall.
think probably the question that we have right now from Jean is also in photograph 2. Are you planning on taking down a tree?
We had some trees removed, yep. That's actually, that tree is technically a stump. It was broken off at the top. We had, trees that were dying and pine trees that were close to the house only. But there was a fair amount. Yeah, but we took no healthy hardwoods, or we left the hemlocks. We just had a few that were punky on the bottom, you know, like the sawdust coming down. We took
Right.
those out. We had a monster pine near this tree, which was 120 feet tall, you know, very close to the house.
Okay. Any more?
Okay, I guess,
Yeah,
this is Susan again.
Yep.
When I'm looking at your plan, the existing pea stone patio is in the inner 50. The house itself is in the outer 50 where the pool's going to be, but we really don't want any disturbance in that inner 50. I don't. I know the house was built in the outer 50. Yeah, the house is in the outer 50, but that probably was built before we had the zoning for the wetlands, the setbacks for the wetlands.
Yes.
I don't know, Collis,
Well, I think you did
you
a
asked the
good,
question about the pea stone patio.
Well, I think you did a good
think
job.
We need to have it out of there?
well, no, I think you did a good job configuring the deck and the patio to keep it outside of the 50-foot setback, and I mean, that's commendable.
Right.
But I'm wondering
Oh.
if, to help mitigate that, because you're still within the outer 50, to help mitigate
Right.
that, if that pea stone patio could either be reconfigured to pull that out of the 50-foot setback, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
It would kind of be an all or none because the septic is there.
Yeah.
And I guess that's,
Is it actually a round pea stone patio? back
yes,
to show?
yeah. And it's all pea stone. There's no, you know, hardscape or anything there.
Can I just, I wanna note too, this is when was that put in, the piece? Cause at one time, there was, the older lots, some of them didn't have a setback. Remember when we used to consider surface water and wetlands as one? This is an older lot, it could be that if it was there for a while, it might be that fell under that category. And then we had, like, you used to have to just have a 50-foot setback, and then we changed surface water, defined surface water and wetland, and that's when we increased that 100-foot setback is not the surface waters aren't grandfathered, where a wetland is still grandfathered. Like, if it was just a wetland, if it was an old lot and it was already there, it would be grandfathered. If,
Right.
I don't know when when the pea stone patio was put in, this is an old lot, I'm just letting you guys know that.
right, so existing pea stone patio, you're still suggesting that he take,
I'm just curious as to the origins and
okay, but
how
Right.
that was, and
so getting back to your original comment, you like the way that he placed the pool and the deck
Yeah.
with, that he did a careful job of placing that.
Yeah.
Do we have any other comments from the, phone people?
I think I heard you say the pool is actually gonna be 20 feet diameter. Does that mean then it'll be kind of over the line?
No,
the
no,
50
no,
foot?
no, no. Yeah, we put a tall stake, we kind of measured from the stream, and then it was located, and I think it was over just a little bit. So I worked for Eric Mitchell. I talked to Chris Hickey, and he slid it over.
Inched it back.
And I think it is drawn as 20, because it looks a little bit bigger than the pea stone patio. I think it just got mislabeled as 18.
Oh, okay, because I was gonna say it's 18, but okay.
But did this, you the current owner put in the pea stone patio?
Yes.
Okay, that is in our inner 50.
Yeah, I will claim that I guess I didn't know better. I thought since it was that the water could go through it, that it wouldn't be an issue, so.
Right, that should be undisturbed. That inner 50 should be totally undisturbed. I don't know how the committee feels, but, you know, we're kind of pushing the limits. I mean, the existing house existed there before the setback, the 100-foot setback, but we're concerned about what people are doing within that inner 50.
We've pretty much held our own in the inner 50.
Exactly, because we're trying to protect that stream, and whether it's runoff or, you know, chemicals or usage that's not appropriate. I don't know.
Yeah, and even
Call
though,
us. You brought it up. What do you think?
even though it's pea stone and you presume it's permeable and water will
Right.
infiltrate down through it, over time, it will become clogged up and become more and more impervious than pervious, you know, as the fine sediments fill in between.
But
pea stones.
I'd like to note that we're not happy with that, because I don't want to see that all of a sudden it becomes a pergola and you know, or a gazebo or something else gets put over the top of that, because you know, it's there. So I think somewhere in our motion, if we allow that to remain, that it will not ever be added to, changed, enhanced, you know,
You know,
whatever.
it's
Otherwise,
merely-
it might get bigger.
It's merely a
Well,
piece.
I'm concerned about it being, you know, people, then you want to, all of a sudden you want a patio with a barbecue and you know, you want a pergola so you don't have sun on it and whatever. It can get carried away, but it should be somewhere in our motion so that whether this owner or some previous people that come into this house do not take advantage of that.
I mean, I don't think it's overly burdensome to
Right.
redesign and reconstruct that so that it's not a circular patio. Maybe it's kidney shaped, maybe it's rectangular, maybe it's redesigned so that we can keep it outside of the 50 as a way to mitigate. The
Okay.
That's even
impacts.
better.
Is that doable?
Yeah, that can be, that
kinda would
type of
be-
thing can be on the septic tank. It could be, you
I'd
could
kinda have
move
to
it onto the
rip the whole
septic
thing out
tank, part
and
of it.
re-loam it, and then there could be sediment from that. It almost seems like this would have less fines, which would make its way there. But I don't wanna talk out of turn, but. And it doesn't get, again, you would know more about this, about as far as it clogging over time, but it's just the pea stone.
Yeah.
That's it. It's not like it's getting, you know, loam tracked into it. So, yeah, but I,
Did you build the patio, the pea stone patio?
I
Is
did.
there filter fabric under it?
yes.
Even though it's even pea stone, it could still be redesigned to move out of the 50.
What is on it? I mean, I can take a ride out there sometime tomorrow. I mean, I can come and look at it.
We-
And I was going to do that today, but I ran out of time.
We just keep 4 chairs there and a fire pit, and that's it.
So
Okay.
it's for a fire pit.
Well, okay, but our concern is that when you use it, it's going to become more.
Well, that's
Because
not the
it's
intent. The
there.
intent is for the way it's currently situated, and it's not like a brick fire pit. It's just one of those little, you know, crappy metal
Right.
ones which can be moved, and then just the metal
Right.
chairs. But I understand
Okay.
what you're saying.
Well, how does the rest of the committee feel about taking it out, moving it, getting it out of the inner 50, as opposed to as part of our approval of the project?
I think it should be moved out of the 50,
I can-
because when the pool gets done, it's going to be used a lot more than it is right now.
So Jean, you're suggesting that it be moved?
I think it should be moved out of the 50, but just a different, could be made into like Carla said, a little bit of a different shape. Still have the same area, but a little different shape.
All right, do I have any other comments? Susan suggesting moving it, and Jean is suggesting, changing the shape so it's out of the 50. Any other comments? We have David, Chuck,
Yeah,
Amy?
I'm not really concerned about it. There's only a small portion of it that's within the 50. And, you know, it's not like it's surrounded by pristine natural area. It's surrounded by a lawn, which may have fertilizers or other things applied that go into the stream that, you know, concern me a lot more than the pea stone.
Okay.
And yet we're talking about the pea stone.
We actually don't fertilize because our well, we have a dug well in the front. I'm a little neurotic about that, so
You're right to be neurotic about that.
I don't wanna drink it, you know, so.
Yeah, right. So,
Yeah.
And I wanna just note,
So
this would be a recommendation to the planning board. It wouldn't be that you wouldn't be approving, you'd be making a recommendation. The planning board has to approve the impact of the buffer.
well, okay.
Okay, this is Susan. I will
Yeah.
make a recommendation that we approve the plan as presented then, and with notes that, I would think that nothing else goes into that inner 50, and the pool not be drained. I don't know how we enforce that, but water not be drained out of the pool toward the brook, the stream. How do we enforce that, Collis? Or we don't?
You don't.
This is the honor system.
We
Yeah.
don't, but I think
You
I
still
think
put-
everybody understands. I'm sure the owner understands why chlorinated water shouldn't go into the stream, killing the life within the stream.
But it should be
You know,
part of
and also it's not to the benefit of his own lawn to dump chlorinated water on it, and should follow guidelines, you know, that Susan recommended for, and I don't know how long a period that is for the dechlorination to occur before any water is removed, but I don't have a pool. I don't know anything about that.
Well, I would just like to jump in, but at times I've seen this happen, that not only is it end of season or start of season, people dump their pools, but even mid-year, and it's already happened with the hot weather, people have algae blooms and they dump the whole pool and refill. So because you don't want to wreck the lawn, I would hope you would not run a hose and just, you know, run it out to the stream then. So just to put that on record. And I had one question, and I was a little confused when you were talking about the trees you took down on photo number 2. Is that tree already removed, the one that's right on the brook? Because that should be at least 50 feet, I guess, from the house, right?
Yes, that's a tall stump that was broken off at the top, that hemlock.
So you're saying, Amy, that's no longer a live tree, that was a stump?
Okay, it's hard to tell from the
Right.
photo because it looks pretty tall, but
Right.
okay. And I was just, those along the brook should be far enough away, but okay.
I was trying to figure out how far away it was from the brook.
So did you say the tree is like the top of it had gone? and-
Completely gone, yeah.
Okay, well, the other recommendation I would make, if you are gonna remove the rest of the tree, leave the stump and the root systems in place because it anchors the
Yeah,
soil
okay.
along the stream.
Yep.
But to get back to the issue about chlorinated water and how do we enforce that, I don't know that we can, but we ought to make it part of our recommendations so that if we do need to enforce to it, we can.
Which I think that was part of the motion that was made just then. And before we get to ask you, is there any other comment on that motion? And I think what I'm gonna have Patty do is read it back. Did anybody want to add anything else to that motion? All right, will you read the motion?
Okay, it was motion to recommend to the planning board the plan as presented, and that nothing else be built within the inner 50 feet, and the pool is not to be drained into the brook, and to leave the stump in place of the tree that's being removed.
Was anything gonna be said about the stone patio, the fire pit area?
No, well,
They
she's
wanted-
doing as presented.
Okay,
No one else said it.
I just said as presented, so it's there, it's gonna stay there.
all right. And nothing else is being built on it or anything? Okay,
Right.
all right.
That-
I do need a second on that motion, but and then we're gonna have comment from everybody, and then we'll ask you. John, the owner, had his hand raised in the middle of this motion, so I'm gonna, we're gonna get a second on the motion, and then we're gonna hear from John, okay?
All right, I'll second it.
Okay, David seconded it. Before we vote, John, what was your comment?
Just, we had all this pool talk, and again, being unfamiliar with pools, do people put in a hose and drain them down that way, or do they just open it up and let it go?
Siphon.
Okay, because the area, see like where it says, district, on the 100-foot,
Yeah,
kind of over to the back of the house, that's like a low area, and it goes down. So if you have to use a hose to drain it anyways, it would be just as easy for me to take any water over there, and then at least it would have a chance to leach through before it was heading for the stream. If that.
Oh, I
makes-
think you need to drain it down Winding Brick Road. People do that. You see, they put their hoses out on the road.
Yeah,
That would drain to the well.
Come around the house, but,
To the well.
but it's going to head toward the stream. If you open it up where it is, it's going to head toward the stream because it's
yeah, and knowing way
going
more
in that
about,
direction.
knowing way more about pools than I care to know, and how much they cost.
Yeah, you better find out
I
before
know
you
that-
build it
I
because
know
you
that
might not
when-
be too happy. But
Typically-
anyway,
okay,
I've seen people
hang on.
drain. I don't know what the town says about that, but I've seen people put their hoses down onto a paved surface.
okay, Collis
So
is some
typically what
information.
you do to drain down a pool is you put the filter to waste, which means you're discharging it away from the pool and out someplace else.
Exactly,
So
but
you're
you don't
taking
want
out
it to
water and you're sending it
discharge.
somewhere.
Not in the stream,
Yeah.
elsewhere.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, now that we have the motion on the floor and we have a second, we're gonna go ahead and take a roll call vote. Unless anybody, I think we read it and I think you all know what it said. Okay, Jean Walker,
Yes.
Amy Pollock,
Yes.
Chuck Freiberger,
Uh-oh.
Chuck, are you there?
Chuck, unmute your phone.
Chuck said yes. I heard him say yes.
Okay.
Okay. David Neiman,
Yes.
Susan Tucker,
Yes.
Evelyn Miller, yes. The motion carries, and we are going to, this is making a recommendation to.
Yeah, to go to the planning board, so when you go to them on the August 13th meeting, they'll have these comments from the Conservation
Okay.
Commission.
So these will be sent to the planning board.
Okay,
Okay, thank you very
Thanks for
much.
coming in.
thanks for everything.
And actually, probably before you get that pool, you better still find out all about how you're gonna take care of
I
it.
do think I can drain it over there. so I think
Okay,
we're good.
thanks so much.
Thank you.
All right,
As
next,
far as I'm concerned, we let the prior one go as an expedited minimum impact. I have no heartburn with this whatsoever, considering what the last one we just let go. I mean, the impacts from that last one were far more egregious than this.
oh, yeah, so. Okay, let's see, next on,
Map 5.
yep, map 5, lot 41-1-1. Site plan for a proposal to build a 3,820 square foot automatic car wash facility that will have manual wash bay and outdoor vacuums on the newly created lot 14, blah, blah, blah. This lot is 1.327 acres. The property is located on Mass Road and New Hampshire Route 114. Is that across from the,
You have someone online that's explaining it.
the applicant is Easy Express Car Wash, and the property is owned by Veries Financial Corporation. It's zoned commercial industrial flex, and I believe somebody's making a presentation on
Yeah,
this.
we have Nick Golan from TF Moran who's online, and he will do the presentation. Go ahead, Nick.
Hi, everybody. How are we doing tonight?
Hello?
Good.
Yep.
All right. Well, my understanding is this application is before you this evening because we have a wetland on site. Just for clarity, there are no wetland impacts. There are no wetland buffer impacts. There's two components going before the planning board, the first of which is a subdivision. The applicant's proposing to carve off approximately 1.3 acres from the existing 13-acre lot. On that lot, he's proposing to develop the easy car wash. The remainder of the lot, which is nearly 12 acres, the lion's share, would be left as the remainder. That is the location in which the wetland we have is located. Wetland itself is approximately 2,800 square feet and is located a considerable distance from any of the work that's being proposed. Just to give you a quick rundown on what the development portion of the project is, just for reference. As was mentioned in the opening, it is a proposed car wash. It will have an automatic car wash component as well as a manual wash bay. Both of the wash water from those areas will go into a sewer system, grit oil water separator that is located on the subject site, which ultimately discharges to the municipal sewer. From an overall site layout standpoint, utilities will be brought in on the subdivision. From a stormwater management standpoint, we have two types of systems. The subdivision road itself will be a closed drainage system, so catch basins and pipes, versus the site drainage system, which is really an open drainage system. It relies on superficial flow. It's a fairly small site, so we don't have very long runouts for our stormwater runoff. Stormwater runoff will drain to the edges of the pavement, down a paved flume, into a forebay where it receives its appropriate pretreatment, and then overflows from those pretreatment areas into a filtration basin that's been designed in accordance with state requirements. I'm going to keep it short and brief. Are there any questions?
This has come before us once before, hasn't it?
No, what came before you already was the subdivision?
Before the subdivision, right,
Yes,
that's
and
right.
you had no
Yeah.
issues of concern with the subdivision, and they were
Yeah.
coming back in later with the site plan.
Right. Okay.
Okay, this is Susan Tucker again. My question, I'm looking at these maps, and I'm trying to, this is a subdivision. I don't have a problem with the car wash site, but I'm trying to read the wet area and the stream that comes through there. Or is that, in fact, the stream that comes through that site or the adjacent site? I just want to make
I'm
sure
not aware
that
of it.
you're not aware of the adjacent site. Okay.
No, I was going to say I'm not aware of there being any stream across the site.
Well, I'm looking
There
at
is a low-lying location identified on the topographic subdivision plan, in which that wetland is located. It's surrounded by ledge outcroppings, so it makes sense that that low-lying area would be a wetland. But there's no defined stream channel on the subject property, to my knowledge.
No, it's just, it looks like it's a confined, right up at the top. It's almost like a ponded area up at the top. Is that correct? That with the steep wall, granite walls on either side of it?
I'm sorry, is that a question?
Well,
a little bit
I'm
trouble
on
hearing.
page one, I think it says 1, and it's just showing a wetland right at the top, where you've got, your topo map is showing sharp walls, I'm saying, and then it looks like there's a ponded area there, a wetland, but it doesn't go down into the area that is the building site.
Oh, okay, so when we're looking at the existing conditions plan, the area that surrounds the wetland is ledge, so it's not wall, it's just existing stone.
Yeah.
There is a flow course, if you want to call that, when it would overflow, that drains across the property to the northeast, but no, it doesn't drain. There's no drainage pattern necessarily through the site.
Okay.
I have a question on sheet C3, which is the site preparation plan, Nick. It shows an
Yes, sir.
excess storage material area. What's that all about? Is that going to be removed as part of the site prep?
Yes, it would. So what they are endeavoring to do is to identify where temporary material stockpiles would be. There's actually one of the comments we received from the Department of Public Works, which we've since addressed, is that if we are going to stockpile any material on the adjacent site, if it's going to be there for any period of time, i.e. more than 72 hours, then it needs to either be covered or we need silt sock or some sort of sediment fence around it to make sure that any stockpiled material from the site, that being the soils, don't bleed off and drain elsewhere.
Yeah. So I'm looking for, oh, here it is. It's on the next sheet, C4, the snow storage area.
Yep.
Is inside the infiltration basin.
Yeah.
They are located within the filtration basins. That is correct.
How's that gonna work? How's it gonna infiltrate the stormwater flow when the ground's frozen and it's got snow piled on top of it?
Sure. So the
Snow with
systems that
salt,
we've designed
sand.
as far as the stormwater management are all equipped with overflows. So the filtration basin that is most located to the west of the site has a catch basin overflow such that it can discharge into filtration basin number 1, which is located on the northern end of the site. And then that has an emergency outfall that then discharges to an adjacent drainage ditch and then off of the site.
And I'm talking about
So-
infiltration basin number 2, which shows snow storage inside. In fact, completely consuming
The whole,
infiltration
So
basin.
snow store. Go ahead. Sorry, I cut you off.
Yeah. So it's completely consuming that entire infiltration basin.
I would say that that is only a picture. We're showing where that potential snow storage could be located. Given the size of the site, which is fairly minimal in the area of impervious surfaces, we've shown more than an abundant area of snow storage, both in the basin number 2 as well as in basin 1. I wouldn't have the expectation that those would be filled with snow, such they would be problematic during a condition in which you have frozen ground, you have snow, and then say we ended up with a rainstorm, something along those lines, which we do occasionally see.
Yeah, so you're storing snow in both infiltration basin 1 and 2.
That is correct. Yep, and that is an acceptable practice for DES.
Really?
so then, are you going to be sanding this lot, you know, if you're scraping sand, so it's snow removal, but is there any sand that's going to be going on or salt that's going to go on this pavement, and then you're going to be using this storage area? Is that-
I can't speak necessarily to the intended snow management practices that the applicant would use, but we can just for the purposes of this exercise assume that they're going to snow and or salt this. That would ultimately end up in the filtration basins, and they would have to be cleaned in accordance with the operation and maintenance manual that accompanies this project.
So it doesn't look like this is big enough to require an AOT permit, is that correct?
Correct. It is under the thresholds, although we have designed it to AOT standards. So all of the BMP worksheets, et cetera, are included in the stormwater management report to show that 4 bays have been sized accordingly and that the appropriate soil matrix has been provided for the filtration basins.
So have you run this plan by AOT even though it doesn't require a permit from them?
No, so it's not being submitted to alteration of terrain, but we still fill out all the worksheets which DPW reviews as part of their engineering review.
I'm sorry, I'm having trouble locating where this is. It's crossing the,
Right next to Mike Tabor's, Mike Tabor's Auto Shop? It's right next to it.
across from Wicked Salon,
Yeah. Yeah.
Mass
The
Road,
Goffstown Rail
past
Trail runs right in
Dunkin'
front of it.
Donuts on Mass Road, the vacant area. It's right across the street. And then there's an auto repair shop, it's Tabor's.
Yeah.
It's gonna be right next to it.
okay,
Yeah, you've got Pro Landscape Supply and then Mike Tabor,
Okay, got
Tabor's
it.
Auto Body, or
Yep.
Auto Repair, and this would be right on the other side of that.
okay, all right,
Just a little ways down from the ball field.
okay.
And the rails and trail is right in front of it, yeah.
Right. Okay.
I gotta tell you, I'm extremely uncomfortable with storing snow inside of infiltration basins. The ground's gonna be frozen. The time when it needs to be infiltrated the most during the spring with spring runoff and whatnot, that ground's gonna be frozen. Nothing's gonna infiltrate.
Well, the question is, they've got all this other property there. Can't they put the storage off on?
Haul it off-site.
Make that recommendation to the planning board.
Okay, but,
And Collis, I realize at one point DES, that being alteration of terrain and for its site-specific, we're advocating for snow storage not to be located in stormwater management features. That has since changed, since that is an acceptable practice. I understand the thought process. There's a concern that you have snow that is taking up that volume. Maybe you can walk through for it a little bit for me what your concerns would be
just did.
for that snow, that it's going to over inundate the system.
Then my concern is the infiltration basin is supposed to infiltrate stormwater into the soil, into the ground. It's not gonna be able to do that when the ground is frozen and it has a mountain of snow sitting on top of it. I mean, that's just logical, that that's not gonna happen.
Okay, wait. We're having trouble hearing.
Someone needs to
I'm
turn down
sorry,
their
I've got
TV.
multiple people talking. I'm not sure I'm following.
Right. Someone,
Someone needs to turn down their TV. Susan? Okay. I think it's yours.
okay, who's talking now?
No, that's what it was, is someone's TV was turned on.
Okay, is it the presenter that then was gonna answer, Collis about?
Nick, did you want to answer him now?
Yeah, if I can.
Okay.
So understood that when we have frozen ground conditions, that can be problematic. So one of the things to clarify is that relative to the design, and I realize the note is incorrectly labeled, that calls it out as an infiltration versus a filtration basin. So we are installing an 18-inch level of soil set to a certain, specification that would include not just the typical soil that is there now. This is being replaced. The mix that is, it's the sand, it's the topsoil, it's the bark mulch, so that when we think about the typical ground freezing versus the filtration basin, we'd have a little bit of a different scenario because of the void space that's created within that soil matrix, which isn't going to be compacted. But to your point, I look at it and say that it's a practice that's been deemed acceptable, that we provided more than enough snow storage for the site, that the amount of snow that is likely to be stored there is fairly minimal given the area of impervious that we have, and that from an overall operational standpoint, given the fail-safes that we have built in with overflows for both basins, so that they have somewhere to redirect such that we don't have flooding within the property, that we've designed it in an appropriate means to account for that concern. Should we have a frozen condition? Should we have a ton of snow? And then should we have rain on top of it? And making sure that that meltwater has an appropriate direction to take. So one thing that I think is important to clarify is during a 100-year storm event, we have no discharge from any of these basins. So if we were to look at it just from the standpoint of removing the exfiltration, the filtrative capacity of that basin, we still don't have an issue. So this is the level of belt and suspenders that we've applied to this design. So if that's of help, if you just want to look at the actual engineering of it, the numbers for it, then we can go ahead and just make that assertion.
Well, I think one thing, that this is going to be going on to the planning board, and the engineer is supposed to look at this, I'm thinking. And so we can say that that is still a concern of ours, and that they can then take another, it's really hard to do this over. What, Collis, do you want to make it as a recommend? You can't make it, but that's, I guess that's that is a concern of ours.
He can make a recommendation as to what he thinks we should say as a concern.
Okay.
Because any concerns, that you're part of technical review that makes comments to the planning board.
Or are you saying that you just think it really should be changed?
I don't know.
You're uncomfortable with it?
I'm really uncomfortable with it. I guess I'll have to have a conversation with my friend Ridge at AOT and find out what the heck is going on and why would this be acceptable? I just don't understand. I mean, if what you're saying is, even with snow piled there, the system will still work, then why design and build the infiltration basins at all?
But I think, am I incorrect that you said you think you labeled it incorrectly? It's not supposed to be an infiltration, it's supposed to be a filtration? Does that make a difference?
So as far as the terminology is concerned, they're very similar. The difference being an infiltration basin is relying on the naturally occurring soils, whereas in a filtration basin, you're using an engineered soil that meets a specific specification to provide treatment for the stormwater.
But the end result,
It's a different type
the
of soil.
concept is the same, and that is to get the stormwater down into the ground.
That is correct.
Yep.
So Collis's comment is, or concern, is that when everything's frozen and you have the snow piled on top of it, it's not gonna have anywhere to go. So that would be, if anybody wants to make a motion, that would be one of our concerns. Do we
So
have,
this is a filtration or an infiltration?
I think it's supposed to be.
This is it's a filtration basin, so it has an
Filtration.
18-inch layer of filter media that
Okay.
meets a specific requirement outlined by the state of New Hampshire alteration of terrain permit.
Okay. Do we have, anybody else has a comment or concern about this site? Let's see, so since it's crossing the Rails to Trail, boy, and the Rails to Trail is getting a lot of use now. It is really, really exciting to see. But how, do you have appropriate, I don't know, do they have lights there that people push a button to if they want to go buy it, or do you just put a stop sign for the people coming? What is
Well,
a,
that's something he'd be working also, I believe, with the select board with, but like the Shell station, the rail trail crosses the Shell station Dunkin' Donuts, too.
yeah, so, okay. Anyway, that's all right, but that's not our concern. Does anybody have any more conservation-type concerns about this project? Well, yep, David?
As far as this discussion as whether it's an filtration or an infiltration system, I don't see why that matters in terms of why either approach is not a problem with snow piled up on top. So, following along with what Collis said, I don't see why there would be a distinction between the two.
Did you understand what he said? You were breaking up when you were talking.
Yeah, the cell phones don't come in as well. So David, you did yours.
He was just echoing Collis's concern.
Okay.
That's the way I took it. He had the same concern as Collis.
Okay, all right. Well, do we have any motion or comment to the planning board? Somebody? That our concern with this project is that we're worried about the storage, snow storage on top of the filtration design plant.
And recommend it be trucked off-site.
And recommend the snow be removed.
All right, to taken to a different site. Snow
Snow
removal
be-
off-site, that's our recommendation. Do we need to vote on that, or is that just a?
Someone needs to make a motion in a second.
A motion, anybody? Boy, everybody's breaking up. Who can make that motion? Are people online?
If you can hear me, I'll make the motion.
Yep.
Thank you, David, we can hear you.
We need a second.
All right,
I'll second it.
and Jean seconds it. Okay, roll call.
You want to read it back so we can be sure we're voting on what we think we are?
Okay, Patty, read back.
Do not recommend the snow storage on the filtration basin and that the snow be removed off-site.
Okay,
Sound good?
Okay.
Okay.
all right.
There's a concern with a snow storage on the filtration basin, and conservation recommends the snow be removed off-site.
Okay, All right, and we've had a second for that. Roll call, Jean Walker,
Yes.
Amy Polak,
Yes.
Chuck Freiberger.
Yes.
Thank you. David Neiman,
Yes.
Susan Tucker,
Yes.
and Evelyn Miller, yes. Okay. We will send this recommendation on, and our concerns on to the planning board. Thank you very much for the presentation.
Nick, I'll pass it on to him for the meeting tomorrow, okay?
Sounds good. Thank you, everybody. Have a good night.
Thank you. Okay. Just a minute. All right. Next is, actually,
Next, you do the minutes, correspondence.
all right, minutes and correspondence. I don't even see where I have my minutes, but anyway.
I make a motion to accept the minutes of May 27th.
Great.
I'll second it.
Thank you very much. We have a motion on the floor, and it's been seconded.
Roll call.
Roll call. Jean?
Yes.
Amy?
Yes.
Chuck Freiberger?
Abstain.
Okay. David Neiman?
Yes.
Susan Tucker?
Yes.
Evelyn Miller, yes. Okay, Collins, you don't vote on those? No. Okay, then motion carries and the minutes are accepted as read. And now the correspondence. We have a letter of resignation from Joey Bosher.
Can you read it? Can you read it?
Yes, I can, if I can find it, just a second. Yeah, just a minute. I can, I'm sorry, I'm looking for his letter. It was with great regret that I, Joey Bosher, have to resign from the Conservation Commission. Unfortunately, the time I had available to volunteer for the committee has been directed toward my new job.
Just wondering,
So good luck to him on his new job.
thank him for his service while he was here.
Yep. All right, a copy of the email from Randy Rickenbach.
Can we send something to him, Patty, saying thank you for your service, we regret?
That
Yeah,
would be
we
very
can.
nice.
And I just want to know, he is a fireman, an emergency call person.
Oh, wow.
In Manchester, so he's been extremely busy.
I bet he's been,
during
okay,
this
sure.
pandemic.
Okay, oh, yeah. Well, then, yes, why, do you have a or we're
Yeah, I
using
can
the
send it.
letterhead and sending him a nice thank you note? That would be very nice. Thank you very much. All right, and so we have here,
Yeah,
Rickenbach notifying the commission that the trees have been removed from his property located at 55 Shirley Park Road. Commission asked to be notified, so they've been removed. And a butter notification from the ZBA regarding David Skursky is seeking variances to construct an 8x12 addition for a mechanical room within approximately 14 feet from the side property line, whereas 25 feet is required, and to construct a porch deck within approximately 32 feet from the front property line, whereas 35 feet is required. This concerns section 4.3, table of dimensional regulations for the Goffstown zoning. The property is located at 39 Incline Avenue, which is a Class 6 roadway, map 42, lot 13, zoned agriculture. The applicant also requires select board approval for issuance of a building permit on a Class 6 roadway. Applicant is before the ZBA on August 4, 2020. This is an area that gets used heavily by hikers and bikers, and I'm not so sure I'm so thrilled about him going, I don't think anyway. My thought is, we want to keep all of those Class 6 roads open and available to recreational use, because this is all around the mountain area. Now, does anybody else have any comment?
Well, Well, he's building on his
What?
property, he's not building on the road.
But he's asking for a variance, okay, not on the road, but he's.
No, it's just, it's noting, cause it's a class 6 road, but he can't build in the right of way, he's, just doesn't meet the setback requirements.
You can't build on a Class 6 road without approval from the select board.
Yeah, he's
Right.
gotta go to the select board, and he has to go to also ZBA, cause it's a small lot.
Okay,
Well, what, so we're not being asked to comment on this then, this is just a
this is,
copy of,
okay.
Yeah, cause you,
Just a heads
I
up.
just gave it to you because it abuts conservation land.
Okay.
well, it'd be possible to comment when we don't have a plan, we don't have any
Right.
details in front of us.
Right. Right, and actually, everybody's pointing out that he's really not building on the road, and the road will still, the class 6 will be remained open, he's just asking for, he's asking ZBA information, or a set,
He's asking for a variance because he doesn't meet the setback.
right. But
And to build
Right,
on
well,
a class
it
6
doesn't,
road.
it doesn't affect us.
14 feet is pretty close to the conservation land.
That's where the abutters.
Yeah, that's where we're the abutters.
I don't know if you're on that side. I can go get the folder.
I wouldn't be surprised if we are, though.
There's a lot of conservation land around him.
Yeah. I mean, and actually, I hate to say it, the people that live close to those areas really do encroach on conservation land a lot, which we have in the past sent them notices that say, you know.
Piled on and-
Oh, yeah, oh my God, I mean, just, so, you know, observe that this is conservation land and that you should not be, you know, use it to enjoy walking and looking at, but it's not a place to drop your garbage or to build
Well,
a three-floor.
if he did that, it'd be in violation.
Yeah.
He's staying on his property.
Right. All right, and then the last one is a copy of the New Hampshire DES Notice of Acceptance of Wetland Permit and Request for More Information from Lindsay Way, map 9, lot 438. Okay, and then there's another intent to cut for Perkins on Bog Road. There's supply lines with the Source newspaper, all right, and then the town, city magazine, and a copy of the budget and open space conservation fund balance. I think that's probably something we should look at. All right. So now, Patty, can you explain,
The other business?
yes,
Okay. Well, the other business is, we've gotten 2 invoices submitted from Namaski Lake and for Goffstown Waterways for their treatment of, the milfoil, which you've all received copies of. So far, Namaski has submitted an invoice for $2,860, and Goffstown Waterways is $9,498. Goffstown Waterways treated upstream, like the mill area. If you remember that, last year we asked Amy, Smagula to go up further and map out the area along the mill and upstream by, the hardware store and further up, and that she did. So most of this is work that was done in that area.
so is it between,
Yes.
I'm sorry, David, go ahead.
If I can comment on that, I mean, for several years, we had been pointing out that there was an embayment in the river that was beyond the hardware store that had a serious infestation. And so this year, for the first time, it was addressed. They went up and treated it, and the result has been excellent. It has completely cleared out that embayment that was severely infested, so it worked.
That's exciting.
You think you'll need another treatment though, David? We have money if we need to continue.
Well, I don't know. I'm just saying that the first treatment, it just made an extraordinary difference.
Okay.
And if,
So we'll keep an eye on it and see what happens. But you know, very very pleased with how it went.
and I'm not
Went and
certain
took a
that
look
they're,
at it.
sorry, and I'm not certain that they're done yet with treating. That was just what has been submitted so far.
Right.
I know they haven't indicated they were doing any more, but Namaski said they believe there's some hand pulling that's gonna occur. And then the other item that came in that I emailed you that Derek had asked if we'd look at reducing the milfoil, cause the select board is looking at cutting areas where this is,
Reducing the budget for the milfoil?
for the milfoil, cause we usually come in under using it. And this year is a bad year with the pandemic, and they're looking at trying to save where they can to help, reduce the tax rate.
So how much are they proposing to reduce?
He was suggesting 5,000 to 8,000.
Well, that's quite a bit lower, isn't it? Because we had 26,000 last year.
Yeah.
Reducing it by 5 to 6,000?
Yeah, I
or
said-
reducing it?
Yeah.
He says, I think we could reduce the Conservation Commission budget by 5,000 to 8,000. That would leave sufficient funds for milfoil and anything else the conservation wants to do. So he would just reduce the budget. Because he was looking at, if you look at, I gave you a copy too, Collis, it should be sitting on you over there. He showed how, like, what we spent in 2017 was 9,909. 2018, we spent 4,235. Last year, we spent more, 16,431. And then so far this year, we're at 7,414.
So what would that leave us for milfoil, Patty?
Well, if you take that, cause we really had, 26,580 was put in the last time. Remember when
Right.
this went to the budget committee and they just said roll it into the budget? That was the amount that went before the budget committee, that got rolled in, so it's really like 26,000,
Yeah.
and we never hit that. And your budget as a whole, which you have it in there, what,
Yeah.
the whole budget, not the
Right here.
milfoil, the actual operating budget.
Oh,
It's in here.
all right.
No, not here.
I'm sorry.
She had it in there. Oh, it was part of it, all right. So. Your operating budget is 31,580.
But out of that 31,000, how
You
much?
mainly used for milfoil, but we never,
Right, that's what I'm saying, it's mostly for milfoil,
Right.
but we never hit that.
we haven't hit it, because, you had a big treatment year, but you also had Manchester,
That gave us 10,000,
Yeah,
added
fiction.
10,000 to that. So what you're saying that we have left over of that we have not spent,
right now, our balance is, the remaining balance is 31,000.
31,000 now.
Yeah, it's just she hasn't paid out, so the, two treatments. So those will go out, those will be paid. So the 7,414 will come out of it. You still get your conservation dues that come in, and then there's like postage and minutes for when Gail types up the minutes. And then you have other items that could come in. He was just thinking that where we haven't hit that, and what happens is whatever money's left over at the end of the year just gets put into the general
fund.
So he was
was
saying,
suggesting cutting 5 or 8,000 out of it.
yes, and he's just
Yeah,
letting you
okay.
know that that's where he's looking at, and if you
Okay.
Well,
wanna make a
and
comment of
David-
support or not.
And David has said that they did a really good job of clearing, the milfoil upstream, in that, yeah, so, I mean, does anybody have an opinion right now?
Well, Susan Tucker, I would change from basically, though, we'd like to go further upstream, wouldn't we? We'd like to get up to, I mean, those are the bad areas, and they may need to be treated again because, it's coming from Francistown and New Boston, and I just hate, I know when we lose money, we have to fight for what we got, it's really difficult to get it back again. And what is the big deal about putting it back in the general fund? Doesn't that offset the taxes at that point?
That's what they're saying, that's the issue.
Yeah,
But doesn't,
that we're budgeting for money that we're not using.
Right.
So we're,
Right, but if we don't use it, and it goes into the general fund, it offsets the taxes for that calendar year. But then the following year, for our budgetary process, we have that money again if we have issues coming up that we're gonna have to do a lot more treatment in the lakes or the river. I'm just witchy about reducing our budget by that much, and then sometimes we don't get it back if we need it, and we have to fight for it.
if you end up you could ask for it back in an upcoming year, but so far you haven't used that, is what he's saying.
Right, historically, we don't spend it.
Yes.
If we're not spending it, let's give it back to the taxpayers.
This is such a bad year for people that they're trying to trim the budget where they can.
If we gave back 5,000, cut us back 5,000.
He's recommending 5,000 to 8,000, so at least sufficient amount in there for the treatment of milfoil and whatever else that comes along. And the more you do the maintenance with the treatment, the less you've been having to spend. And I don't know how far up she went, but she, at the beginning of the year or the end of the year, actually I can kind of
Well, I'd like to ask David
She
again.
gave us all that.
Because David seems very familiar with what was done upstream. So David,
Well, I only know of that one area, that one area that we kept mentioning year after year. So that was
Yeah.
treated this year, and the initial treatment has been effective. I mean, obviously, we have to watch it, see if any follow-up needs to occur, pulling or whatever, but I was just pleased that it worked as well as it did. That's all I'm saying. I'm not really trying to add anything to the general discussion here.
She went
Just thought you'd like to know that.
yeah.
They
No.
seem to have gone pretty far up, because on the little map that I have of when they submitted, where they mapped it, it went in the busy area of downtown and beyond, where it goes back to a lot of trees, so I'm pretty sure she went further up, like towards, like where the land abuts, like the Village Water Precincts area.
We had quite a bit we didn't spend this year.
But the bigger issue is that we're in a new budget cycle now, and every town department, and every committee and commission, and everybody else is being asked to look at their budgets and see if they can cut back on their budgets so as to provide some relief to the taxpayers. And what we're seeing is historically, we don't spend our budget. If we're not spending our budget, then we should be cutting our budget back
Yes,
to lessen the burden on the taxpayers.
yes.
And I think that's appropriate. If we're not spending it, then
I think,
we're not budgeting properly.
I guess I think particularly
Right,
this
I
year.
have no problem with that. I just, don't have all those numbers in front of me at the moment. Just make sure that the amount we're cutting back is reasonable, that's all.
Yes.
And in the future, if the milfoil issue becomes exacerbated and we need more money, then that's the next budget. Then we increase the
The
budget.
next budget, right.
Yeah.
So,
I guess I agree with that. I think this particular year, actually, personally, I think it would look pretty badly if we, as a commission, did not do something very supportive to our town.
and it's, we're not cutting our budget in half, we're just
No, no,
taking
no.
it small.
No, I think actually Derek was being, to be honest, pretty
I was just gonna
conservative
say,
in
yeah.
how much he's asking.
Well, right now, we're just talking about the milfoil. I think we all agree, yes, we can cut back on the milfoil if we're not using it all. The follow-up question is, what else do we spend on in our budget that might be trimmed back?
I
Not
don't-
really aware of anything else. It's postage mostly.
No,
It's
postage
our
and
NHACC membership.
dues.
And postage and
The
petty.
minutes.
And I can tell you the NHACC does so much more than I ever imagined before joining. It's impressive how they're watching out for us.
Yep. I agree.
So I think we're talking about somewhere between $5,000 and $8,000. Does anybody have an idea or a motion?
Yeah, 6.
There you go. We've come up.
I mean, it is up to the selectmen as to what they bring forward, but he's looking for, or I should say select board, as to, a support as what you would
Right.
We're
support.
gonna make a proposal to the budget committee, and the budget committee's gonna say, I think you can cut back 2,000 more, or something to that. That may be one of their responses.
Okay,
But I think,
Yeah.
I think it would be, show good
Yeah, I
leadership
think-
if we say, yep, you know what, we think we can cut back in
And-
our budget, and we think 6,000 is the reasonable amount.
So we have a suggestion that 6,000 would be would show a strong demonstration of our support for the community and the Times. Does
I
anybody,
agree, let's do it.
well then how about a motion, David?
Recommend six,
I make a motion that we suggest cutting 6,000 from our budget to accommodate that effort.
A second?
I second it.
Okay, thank you. And now we're gonna have a roll call. Jean Walker? Yes, okay. Amy Polak?
Yes.
Chuck Freiberger?
Yes.
David Neiman?
Yes?
Susan Tucker?
Yes.
Evelyn Miller, yes. So the motion carries, and I think particularly at this time, this is a very good motion, and I think, yes, it's good. Okay, is there anything else? Let me
the
see.
last thing is a plan review that's going before the planning board. It's on tomorrow night. It's, I mailed it to you. There's no presentation. It's,
I've got so many papers here.
yeah, you have a big plan underneath. I
Okay,
gave
thank you.
So, you want me to say what it is?
Yeah, let's just go
All
ahead.
right, it's map 18, lot 30 and 32. It's a site plan amendment to allow a towing business, Jorker Towing, to an existing commercial property that has an automotive repair, collision repair business, and automo sales that is currently located at, it's Paris Auto Body. It's located at 578 Mass Road, and it's zone commercial.
Okay, so I think the question is, do we have any conservation concerns about this plan?
Yeah.
Any comments?
I always bring forward to you anything that's been submitted, and this was one of the items.
Okay,
There's no wetland issues.
yeah, I don't think there's any wetland issues. I'm sure they're gonna hear from other
So
people.
if you have no issues, just,
Yeah.
you
Is
have
there
no
any-
issues of concern, or.
Anybody have any concerns with this?
They already have a business there anyways. I don't have any concern.
Okay, anything else? Nope. All right,
I'll make a motion,
You want-
no issues of concern.
right. Anybody wanna make a motion of no issues or of concern to the Conservation
No.
Commission?
I'll make a motion, no issues of concern.
Okay, second?
Second.
Okay, thank you. That was Susan Tucker, I think. All right, roll call vote.
Yes.
Okay, Amy,
Yes.
Chuck,
Yes.
David,
Yes?
Susan Tucker,
Yes.
and Evelyn Miller, yes. Okay, motion carries. Do we have anything else on the agenda? I think that was
Oh,
it.
maybe open space from David.
David. Do you
Open space, you know we always save the best for last.
Okay,
Okay, just a couple of quick updates. First of all, on the Burns Conservation Easement Project on Snook Road, we had submitted the pre-application for an ARM grant. The pre-application was accepted, so we're going forward with the full application.
great.
As
That's
part of
exciting.
as part of that full application, I want to have a letter of support from the Conservation Commission. I haven't written that yet, but essentially it will say that we support the application, that we want to help preserve one of our prime wetlands, which is a portion of which is within this property. And I also will point out how it's tied to all the abutting conservation areas and how all those projects are essentially protecting a whole network of wetlands that are all connected together, and including two primes and wetlands in between, how they're all connected together and then find their way down to the Gorham Brook and eventually the river. So that'll be the essence of it. What I want to ask because we probably won't put this into the end of August, I can't be 100% certain we won't cancel the August meeting. We've canceled so many this past year. So I'd like to ask now if the commission will approve my writing that letter, which I will then submit, and Jean will sign it, and it'll go in as part of the application.
Yep.
I think that sounds great. Does somebody want to just make an emotion for that, and then we can have a vote on that? I think we've all been following this for years, David, and this is real exciting to see this come all together. Motion, anybody?
I'll make a motion that we have David write the letter and concerning this property for the grant. What else does it say? Is that okay?
And that we're approving,
We're approving that,
Yeah.
yeah. Yes, we're approving this.
application for the ARM grant. All right, second?
I'll second it.
Okay, motion, let's see, roll call, Jean Walker,
Yes.
Amy,
Yes?
Chuck,
Yes.
David,
Yes?
Susan,
Yes.
and Evelyn, yes. That's great. So if you'll do that for us, David, that it's already been approved and you get to send it right off.
Yeah, I'll just email a copy of to everybody on the commission. I think as long as we're not meeting and discussing it, that's at least legal to send the copy, correct?
That sounds great.
And the other, so also, I wanted to ask you, Collis, how is the select board proceeding with their meetings under these circumstances? Are they remote? Are they in person?
They're remote.
What's the story?
Remote.
Because I would like to present to the select board, present this project to the select board so that they know about it.
Yeah.
You know, and also was hoping if the support is there, if they would also consider writing a support letter for the grant application. Yeah, but I need to make a presentation first.
Yeah, I would contact Derek Horn and let him know what you'd like to do and ask him for direction on how to go about doing that, given the fact that we're meeting remotely.
Okay, I'll do that. And then one other issue. So there was an incident out on Montalona Road where a property owner complained about a bunch of cars being parked along the road, trespassing on his property, and it turned out to be the YMCA leading rock climbing group out to climb the cliffs on the Waldvogel property. Now, I wouldn't necessarily care that much about rock climbing, except on that cliff we have ravens nesting.
Oh.
That's why some of you may have noticed that we didn't used to see them, but every now and then you'll see ravens flying around in Goffstown because they started nesting on that site. And that's, people can hike below the cliff, above the cliff, all that. None of that's going to bother the ravens. They put their nest halfway up. But if rock climbers are going right by the nest, that's a problem. So I would like to hear the opinion of the rest of the commission, but I'm of the opinion that it's a bad thing, and would like to send a letter to the YMCA saying, stop doing that.
Yep, let's do it.
Let's do it.
David, is that a seasonal thing? Is it something that we can clearly state from this time to this time?
Time of year restriction.
This area should not be accessed?
Yeah, time of year restriction during the brooding season.
Yeah, I don't know what their breeding season is, to be honest. I mean, I know, like, right now up in Acadia, there are a number of trails that are closed because of peregrine falcons nesting. They usually have them closed till mid-August, from like mid-May to mid-August. But I don't know what the breeding
I was just there.
is for ravens.
Yeah. Okay. I was just wondering if we send them a letter, if we can be specific so that it's not a reoccurring thing,
Well,
and I don't know if signage needs to be put up as well, or is that really only the one group that we have that issue with?
Well,
Well, probably other groups as well, but that was the one that was coming in mass, and which seems a little inappropriate too, that they would take a large group out like that and not even check with the property owners.
Who is the property owner?
What does the commission feel in general about the rock climbing on those cliffs?
No, I think,
I'm sorry, David, what is
David,
it?
who owns the property? The Vogel, is it, who owns the actual property? I know there's an easement. That's what they're asking you.
Hello, David.
Yes,
The question is, who owns the Vogel?
Property where they're nesting.
Yeah,
we do.
all right, it's
It's
conservation.
the
land.
Waldvogel tract. It's owned by the town, under our jurisdiction.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, pardon me, can we contact the Audubon, or do you mind, David, contacting Audubon and see what the nesting, pattern is for that area, and then we should post signs.
Or Fish and Game.
Oh, Fish and Game would be really good.
And then he's asking to send a letter to the YMCA to not, during a certain time, or,
Well, I think that is a little, I
Well, we need
mean,
to find out the time of year restrictions. When should they be giving a wide berth to those nesting sites? What time of year?
Right.
From what month to what
How,
month?
how about this? I can contact the YMCA, talk to them and say, look, we have this concern. Right now, please stop. We're looking into the issue further to come up with guidelines as to when our, seasons that need to be blocked out for nesting purposes.
Yep.
That sounds perfect.
Yep, keep it cordial and just reaching out to coordinate,
Yeah.
have a conversation.
yeah. Sounds good. Okay, anything else, David?
No, that's all I have for the moment.
Well, that's a lot. Okay, then I don't see anything else here on the table. Is there anything else to be brought up, or do we need a motion to adjourn? I don't hear it from anybody. Does somebody want to make a motion?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second?
I'll second.
All right. Roll call. Jean, roll call. Jean?
Yes.
Amy? Chuck?
Yes.
Yes.
David?
Yes.
Susan?
Yes.
And Evelyn says yes, and thank you all for being here tonight. Oh, when are we gonna have our next meeting?
it's the 4th Wednesday in August.
Right, fourth Wednesday in August.
Look at I don't have it right in front of me.
Okay, that's it. All right, thanks a lot. Meeting's over.
Okay,